Did you know that for many people, the most passionate, emotionally fulfilling, and even adventurous part of their love life doesn't happen in their 20s or 30s, but in their 60s and beyond? Surprising, right? In fact, recent studies show that intimacy in later life often feels richer, more meaningful, and more authentic than at any other stage. Why? Because with age comes freedom. Freedom from performance pressure, freedom from the need to impress, and freedom to finally focus on connection, not just the act itself. Think about it. By 60, you've already lived through decades of ups and downs, heartbreaks, and lessons learned. And that wisdom creates a whole new kind of intimacy, one that blends tenderness with passion in ways younger generations rarely experience. Yet here's the secret. Most seniors don't talk about it. Many keep quiet, fearing stigma, or believing that passion after 60 is taboo. But the truth, that silence is robbing countless people of joy they could be living right now. So, what if I told you this stage of life might just be your most exciting chapter yet? What if passion isn't something you lose with age, but something you finally get to define on your own terms? Stay with me, because in this video we're going to uncover exactly how people over 60 are reigniting their spark, finding joy again, and proving that love truly has no expiration date. Let me introduce you to two people whose stories may feel surprisingly familiar: Eleanora and Ray. Eleanora is a 67-year-old retired librarian who spent most of her life surrounded by books and stories. But after retirement, she realized she hadn't given much attention to writing her own next chapter. For years, her focus was on raising her children and supporting her husband, who sadly passed away a decade earlier. Once the bustle of work and family slowed down, she felt the quiet set in. At first it was comforting, but eventually the silence became heavy. She began to wonder, was passion behind her, locked in the past, or could it exist in her future? Then there's Ray. He's 71, a former carpenter who lost his wife of 40 years to illness. For a long time, he convinced himself that love was something you only get once in a lifetime. The idea of starting again felt overwhelming. What if he couldn't connect? What if his best days were already behind him? Yet deep down, he longed for companionship, for laughter over morning coffee, for a hand to hold during quiet evenings. When Eleanora and Ray met at a community art class, something both had signed up for on a whim, they didn't expect much. But something shifted. It wasn't about fireworks or the kind of passion you see in movies. Instead, it was the comfort of easy conversation, the excitement of learning someone new, and the spark of realizing that maybe, just maybe, the heart isn't finished growing at 60 or even 70. Their story matters because it challenges a common belief, that passion is a young person's game. But Eleanora and Ray prove the opposite. Passion at this stage of life is different, yes, but it's also deeper. It's about shared wisdom, about not needing to impress, about being fully yourself without apology. And that authenticity, it's magnetic. You see, what Eleanora and Ray discovered is that passion doesn't fade with age. It evolves. It's less about chasing thrill after thrill, and more about savoring connection. For them, it started with courage. Eleanora's courage to step outside her comfort zone, and Ray's courage to open his heart after loss. That first step changed everything. And here's where this becomes personal for you. Maybe you, like Eleanora, are wondering if the spark is gone. Or maybe, like Ray, you've convinced yourself it's too late to try again. But what if, instead of endings, your 60s mark the beginning of a completely new chapter? One filled not with pressure but with choice. Not with insecurity but with freedom. Their journey is a reminder. Love and passion don't expire, they just wait for you to believe in them again. The rediscovery zone. Passion after 60 doesn't always begin with grand gestures or dramatic moments. It often begins in the simplest places. The truth is, what reignites the spark isn't always what happens behind closed doors, but what happens in the everyday rhythm of life. For many seniors, passion comes alive again through humor, shared memories, and tiny acts of tenderness that slowly rebuild excitement. Think about this. When was the last time you laughed so hard with someone that your cheeks hurt? For Eleanora and Ray, that moment happened during a trip to the farmer's market. Ray tried to carry too many bags at once, stubbornly insisting he didn't need help. The sight of him juggling apples, bread, and a bouquet of flowers until one bag burst open sent both of them into fits of laughter. It wasn't glamorous or planned, but that shared silliness became a moment of connection they still talk about. Sometimes passion is hidden in those unscripted, joyful seconds. Rediscovery also happens when you revisit old memories together. For couples who've been married for decades, flipping through photo albums or listening to Your Song can bring back the warmth of younger days. But with a twist. Instead of longing for the past, these memories can spark gratitude for the life you've built, while igniting curiosity about what comes next. For those starting fresh like Eleanora and Ray, sharing stories of childhood or first jobs builds intimacy in a way no candlelit dinner could. And then, there are the gestures so small they often go unnoticed. A hand reaching for yours while crossing the street, a cup of coffee waiting for you in the morning, or a thoughtful text that says, "I'm thinking of you." These little actions are the heartbeat of passion. They remind you that you are seen, valued, and cared for. Here's the beautiful truth. At this stage of life, passion is less about perfection and more about presence. It's not about flawless dates or carefully rehearsed romance. It's about being fully alive in the moment with someone who matters. And once you start noticing and appreciating these small sparks, you'll realize they're everywhere. So, here's a question for you. When was the last time a small moment made your heart race? Maybe it was a laugh you shared or a memory that brought tears to your eyes. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story because your moment might just inspire someone else to rediscover theirs. The conversation bridge. If there's one thing that can completely transform relationships after 60, it's this. The willingness to talk openly. And let's be honest, talking about intimacy, fears, or unmet needs isn't easy at any age. For many seniors, it can feel downright intimidating. After all, most of us grew up in a time when these topics were considered private, even taboo. But here's the powerful truth. The bridge to deeper passion is built on vulnerability. Take Ray, for example. After decades of marriage, he realized that starting over with someone new meant learning to speak up in ways he never had before. When he finally told Eleanora that he was afraid of being too old to be desirable, he expected embarrassment. Instead, she smiled and said, "Do you know how handsome you are when you're just being honest with me?" That moment of courage became the turning point in their connection. Conversations like these don't have to be dramatic. They can start with simple phrases. "I miss holding hands the way we used to," or "I'd love to try something new together." These small invitations open the door to closeness. And when you share not just your desires but also your insecurities, it tells your partner, "I trust you enough to let you see me as I am." That level of honesty creates a bond far stronger than any surface-level romance. It's also important to listen. True intimacy isn't just about expressing what you need. It's about making space for what your partner needs too. Many couples rediscover passion not by trying to guess each other's thoughts, but by asking, "What makes you feel most connected to me?" That single question can unlock answers you never expected. Now here's the part most people overlook. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes far more courage to say, "I'm scared of losing the spark," than it does to stay silent. And yet, that very honesty is what draws people closer. At this stage of life, there's no time for games. Openness saves energy, reduces misunderstandings, and creates the freedom to simply enjoy each other. So, let me ask you, have you ever wanted to say something to your partner but held back out of fear? Maybe tonight is the night to take that first step across the bridge. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you wish you had the courage to share? Your words might just inspire someone else to speak up and start a new chapter in their love story. The health spark. When most people think about passion, they focus on romance, but here's the surprising truth. Your body and mind play a much bigger role than you might imagine. At 60 and beyond, health isn't just about living longer. It's about living better. And what's exciting is that today's seniors have more tools, resources, and breakthroughs than ever before to enhance vitality, energy, and yes, intimacy. Let's start with movement. Practices like yoga and Tai Chi aren't just for flexibility. They also improve circulation, balance, and confidence. Eleanora recently joined a gentle yoga class at her local community center. She thought it would just help her stretch, but she was surprised to discover how much calmer, lighter, and more connected she felt afterward. That newfound energy spilled over into her relationship with Ray, sparking a new sense of playfulness she hadn't felt in years. Then there's dance therapy, which has become a rising trend in senior communities across the U.S. Imagine this. Instead of sitting in silence, couples sway together to old favorites from the 60s and 70s. The physical closeness, the music, the laughter. It awakens the body and stirs up forgotten feelings. For many, it's less about exercise and more about rediscovering the joy of moving together. Mindfulness is another powerful tool. Research shows that seniors who practice meditation or breathing exercises experience reduced stress and better emotional connection. Why does that matter? Because when your mind is calm and your stress is low, intimacy naturally feels more inviting. Passion thrives when you're fully present, not distracted by worries. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Medical science has caught up with the needs of older adults. From safe new medications to innovative therapies like hormone balancing and even regenerative treatments, seniors now have options that weren't available a decade ago. Doctors are openly encouraging conversations about sexual health, something that used to be brushed aside. But the most surprising headline this year: the rise of senior vitality programs, comprehensive wellness packages offered by clinics across the country that combine nutrition, movement, and intimacy coaching all in one. Seniors aren't just surviving. They're actively investing in thriving relationships. So here's the takeaway. Passion doesn't fade because of age. It's often reignited when health and energy are prioritized. Small steps like joining a local yoga class, trying dance therapy, or simply practicing 5 minutes of daily mindfulness can create a ripple effect in your relationships. Let me ask you, have you ever tried one of these practices, or are you curious to explore? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might encourage someone else to take their first step into rediscovering health. And with it, passion. The adventure flame. Passion thrives on discovery. At 60 and beyond, routine can become comfortable, but comfort sometimes dulls excitement. That's where novelty comes in. The simple act of doing something new together can reignite a spark you thought had faded. And here's the beauty of it. Adventure doesn't have to mean climbing mountains or flying across the world. Sometimes it's found in the kitchen, on a road trip, or even in the backyard. Take Eleanora and Ray. After months of enjoying quiet evenings together, Ray suggested they take a cooking class. Eleanora laughed. She had spent her life cooking for her family and thought there was nothing new to learn. But this was different. In that class, they weren't just following recipes. They were making a mess, trying exotic spices, and laughing when the sauce didn't turn out right. That night wasn't about food. It was about rediscovering playfulness. Adventure also shows up in unexpected places. One couple in their 70s recently shared how they started geocaching, an outdoor treasure hunt using a phone app. It gave them a reason to explore new parks and neighborhoods, and along the way, they stumbled into conversations and laughter that felt refreshingly young. Novelty doesn't just create memories, it creates chemistry. Travel is another spark. It doesn't have to be expensive or far. A weekend trip to a nearby town, visiting a local museum, or even camping under the stars can feel like stepping into another world. The change of scenery gives you both a chance to see each other differently, outside the routine of daily life. But sometimes, adventure is as simple as turning on your favorite old record and dancing barefoot in the living room. No audience, no pressure, just two people letting go. Those moments of spontaneity remind you that passion isn't only about what you do, it's about the energy you bring into it. Here's the science behind it. Studies show that trying new activities together releases dopamine, the same chemical responsible for feelings of excitement and attraction. That's why shared novelty doesn't just strengthen bonds. It reignites romance. So here's my question for you. When was the last time you tried something completely new with your partner? Maybe it was a class, a trip, or a silly game. If you haven't done it in a while, Maybe this week is the time to surprise each other with something fresh. Drop your ideas in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. Adventure doesn't fade with age. If anything, it becomes more meaningful because now you have the freedom to enjoy it without the pressure of rushing. The flame of passion is waiting. You just have to fan it with curiosity. If there's one truth that shines through everything we've shared today, it's this. Passion after 60 isn't about chasing youth, pretending to be someone you're not, or trying to go back in time. It's about leaning into the freedom, courage, and wisdom you've earned through a lifetime of experiences, and using that to create joy today. Too often, society tries to tell seniors that romance belongs to the young. But stories like Eleanora and Ray, and maybe even your own, prove how wrong that is. Love, intimacy, laughter, and tenderness don't come with an expiration date. They simply evolve into something richer. And the choice is yours, to settle into silence, or to step boldly into this new chapter with openness and curiosity. Here's what I want you to take away. You're not too old, you're not too late, and you haven't missed your chance. Whether it's trying something new together, opening up about your feelings, or simply holding hands during a quiet walk, passion is built in the present moment. And every present moment is an invitation to begin again. Now, if this video spoke to you, even if just one sentence made you stop and think, I'd love for you to let us know. Hit that like button to show your support, and more importantly, share this video with someone you care about. You never know who might need the reminder that life, love, and connection are still possible and powerful after 60. And don't forget to subscribe to Senior Relationships After 60. Every week, we dive into real conversations, fresh insights, and stories that inspire hope and joy for people just like you. Joining this community isn't just about watching videos. It's about being part of a family that believes your best years are still ahead. So I'll leave you with this. Passion after 60 isn't about rewriting the past. It's about celebrating the future you still have. And that future can start tonight. Now, tell me in the comments, what's one small step you're ready to take to bring more passion into your life?